Hello, my onions. Hang on. Just hang on. I gotta get a seat. Yeah. Checking if I forgot something out here. Nope, I didn't forget anything. I'll set it off. So, to the back porch. Get mine. Getting myself a drink. Just in case if I get thirsty. I'm gonna get myself a drink first, really. I want to see if nothing fell, okay? Nothing fell. Thank God. I'm going to open up my drink first. And I'm going to talk about a review I'm doing on 3 different video games for the price of 1. And they're all by Insomniac. And yep, they're the Spider-Man trilogy that Insomniac made. Designed by Insomniac. I'm going to talk about the first 2 Peter games and the Miles story. And also the the Miles game, the trilogy. Because I haven't beat it and played through the entire thing of the Spider-Man DLC, City Never Sleeps story. I haven't played it all the way through yet, all the missions, mini stories. But I guess I can talk about that also. Because I played some of it, like a little bit of each story. I just can't go into depth of the detail. But I guess I can comment on the gameplay with the DLC stories. The DLC stories is used to be DLC, and then it got released for a game included with the PlayStation 5 remastered version of the game. But if I got that correct, the DLCs came in also a remastered version of PlayStation 4 game. See, it was called Game of the Year Edition. And I know it bothers people that they changed Peter's face from the first game to the second game. But it never bothered me because I always thought that guy doesn't look like Yuri or Peter. The one that it was the original face model. I mean, he looks like Tobey Maguire with frog-like features face. He looks ugly. Like Tobey Maguire's Peter. And he's about as butt ugly as that guy. Maguire and that guy have the sex appeal as Pedro Pascal's Reed Richards. As in the ugly looking fellas. Even though they're not just figure, this ugly looking, unattractive fellows. But apparently, I guess Peter Parker's fans of the Insomniac games wanted the original face model to stick around, even though I think the new face model makes a better Peter and all around a better actor of a performance. A face actor he is. More talented scenes. Yeah, I mean, it looked kind of funny when they did when they put the old face model out with the old face model, and I mean, it looked kind of not right. But what can you expect the first time that they did it? It didn't look right the first time, but what can you expect when they actually put that as the main face model for the remaster version of Spider-Man 1? When it was Peter's story with the old face model. It was a remaster of a visual remaster, but it just looked out of place because it wasn't originally meant to be there, that face. It was meant to be it was a different face. So of course, the first time the face model was the performance, it felt off in certain scenes. Was how he delivered some of his performances. The face model guy was when they did the first time was the first game. Instead of introducing a new face model with the Miles' game or the sequel to Peter's story, they decided to introduce it for the remaster game. That was a flaw in their plan, I think. That was their fault to do it like that, because I'll tell you that right now. If they just waited until, and I use a new face model until Spider-Man 2, or Miles Morales' story with Peter barely in it, more for a small cameo in the opening, and playing a small role, team of Miles, nobody would actually probably complain if they just waited to use the new face model with the later installments after the first installment, but they didn't. And anyway, I give Spider-Man The City Never Sleeps DLC stories a 10 out of 10 for the gameplay and the storytelling, and the performance are good. Solid voice acting from the cast, especially you lone faller Spider-Man. Plays a good Peter Parker Spider-Man. And I give Spider-Man the first game a 10 out of 10. And Spider-Man 2 a 10 out of 10. Miles Morales Spider-Man a 10 out of 10 also. I really like Miles' origin story in this game. I think it's up there with the two Spider-Verse movies. However, and I think it's cool how they reimagine Miles' origin story in this game again. And I like this story a lot with the Miles story more than the Peter story from the first Spider-Man game. Even though I like Peter more as a character, I like Miles' game more from a story perspective. And Peter's game, at least his first game, I like it more from a cinematic perspective, spectacle, compared to Miles' game. Spider-Man 2 is a Peter and Miles' team-up story where they both have character arcs and go for character growth. And Peter letting Miles be the only Spider-Man for a while Peter takes a break, being Peter for a bit. Kind of selfish of Peter in hindsight, probably. And irresponsible, putting that all on a young kid that hasn't even studied for college or studied for his exam to get a degree yet. because he doesn't know who, like, what makes him special without being Spider-Man. Because he's so busy saying, well, he doesn't know what makes him special without being Spider-Man. And, because he's so busy being Spider-Man, he doesn't seem to know who he is without being Spider-Man, other than being Spider-Man. And we see, like, and it never giving closure to Miles' character arc. Peter gets closer to his character arc and character growth, but Miles kind of is character arc is not really visually expelled out, explained within the main content of the story, as well as Peter's visually better spelled out. You had to play as both Spider-Mans certain points in the game where you're free roaming, but not ever when you actually can play the main campaign of the missions in the main campaign. And you can actually play both Spider-Mans under that. So under the main campaign. You're like, you know how like you know how you can play you can play switch back through Miles and Peter and the main campaign open world, but not the main campaign missions where even if you beat the game, you still can't do that. And I hate how this movie, not like the Miles game, you know, the Miles game you can select the levels when you beat the game. This game you can't do that. Even though it's a much longer, bigger game than the Miles game. You have much more characters this time around than the Peter or Miles first game that he had together in the Spider-Man's trilogy saga. Well, personally, I think Spider-Man 2 is honestly the best of both when I played it and as the story unfolds. However, it's not as smoothly edited as the Miles story. Like, it feels like this cinematic movie story of Spider-Man brings in the symbiote, if a storyline, it feels very rushed in those parts with the symbiote stuff. How Peter gets it, after he gets it, the whole game starts to go on a different pace level. Like, kind of rushes itself. With the symbiote story, after Peter gets off himself, then Harry becomes Venom, where it's getting on to Harry, when it comes back to Harry. And, it felt the whole pacing, once it introduced Spider-Man getting resurrected with the symbiote, that's when the movie storyline starts to go all downhill on a narrative level, pacing-wise. But gameplay is quite good. Pacing-wise, story-wise, it's not right. It feels very rushed. The symbiote story. More than Spider-Man 3 tried to rush it. With the symbiote story saga. But what does save this game is definitely the performance, I think, with the voice cast. Especially Yuri Lewis, how he replies in his role for the third time as Spider-Man. And I don't know who plays the voice of Miles, don't know the actor's name, the voice actor's name, but I think he does a good job as Miles also. Him and the guy that played Miles in the Spider-Verse movie, the best voice actors that I think have ever played Miles, and like any portrayal for bringing Miles into this animation or video game form. Not yet live action form, that hasn't happened yet, but I hope that doesn't really happen soon or ever. Because I just think they're going to suck at ruining everything cool about Miles. Like they do with Peter. So that's why Tom Holland's is my Peter I'm talking about, referring to this now. And that's why I give Spider-Man 2 and Spider-Man and Miles Morales Spider-Man and Spider-Man the City Never Sleeps, the original DLC stories, where you also play as Peter in every storyline of the mini stories of the City Never Sleeps. All games and the DLC short story known as The City Never Sleeps now. It gets 10 out of 10. I love this trilogy of Insomniac Spider-Man. Insomniac Spider-Man trilogy, I give it 10 out of 10 run. It's awesome. My favorite Spider-Man 2 game out of the bunch, even though it has problems and flaws here and there, I still enjoyed it a lot more than the first two on a gameplay level and cinematic level. Story level, not pace-wise, not as much. It felt like I honestly think the story was the first Peter story and the first Miles story were better well paced. It was pacing itself with the story and having everything make sense of the story that they were telling for each character in the story, self-contained, while telling a more coherent narrative with a cinematic scale connecting to a bigger story. Is what because I hear Peter's, and I don't know what Peter's story they're going to tell with Spider-Man 3, because I hear Peter's story is not over yet with Insomniac, even though he's taking a break from Spider-Man, let Miles do it. Maybe we'll see more closure to Miles' story in the sequel, and I don't know what's going to happen to Peter when Spider-Man 3 comes. Anyway, that's my review on. Hang on. Mouth's a little dry in my throat. Before now, I forget how to give it the score. I give all Spider-Man games a 10 out of 10 that I reviewed in this video. This saga gets a 10 out of 10 for me. Looking forward to the Insomniac's Wolverine game. I hope it's rated M, and I hope it's as good and as violent as fun as X-Men Origins Wolverine R-rated game. Rated M for mature, the M version, not the T version. The T version of that game sucked ass more than the original movie it's based on. That's how bad the T version is. The non-rated M version of X-Men Origins Wolverine. Play the rated M version. Don't play the team version of the game, because that has a completely different story, more cinematic, connected, in line with the movie, and it doesn't have any violence in it. Has a different story that's more in line with the movie and less of an original story, which is what the M version goes for, original story. Less that's loosely connected to the movie or has anything to do with the movie, that's product after name. And yeah, Hugh Jackman does play Wolverine in the game, the R-rated cut I know of, and I think I hear he played it in the M game, and I think he played him in the T version of the game. He plays them both. But Hugh Jackman did my favorite version of Wolverine when he played it, the M version of Wolverine, in the Wolverine game that's called X-Men Origins Wolverine. And you can wear the costumes from the comics if you can unlock them and collect the collectibles in the game. So they're really fun of a game to get in the game. I just realized I reviewed X-Men Origins Wolverine, the game, rated M, and the T version. So I give the T version a playable, but clunky, playable 6 out of 10 on the gameplay. And the story execution, how it all is, was the T version of X-Men Origins Wolverine sucked that bad. And the M version is 10 out of 10. Was fucking awesome. And I like the puzzles they get put in the game. And the armies you and the guy characters you get to kill off with your claws. In fact, that actually they used like effects. They made the healing when you actually has like a Wolverine actually has his healing factor in the game. So once you actually start recovering your health after a bit. People stop trying to fight you or killing you. After a bit, your health bar stats gradually goes up, and your healing factor kicks in, and you start to heal. Like you see the skin coming back, and the flesh coming back, and the bones covering in the bones more. After the bones and ribs are exposed, it's like, and many times this game's mostly gruesome because of the healing factor. Like it's so realistic, like the movies made it on a cinematic scale. During the gameplay, you see how good the healing factor is on the effects when the gameplay is happening. It's like awesome, totally awesome. That's why I give this game a 10 out of 10. Look forward to Insomniac's Wolverine. I hope they can do better or just as good on the Wolverine fans for delivering an M mature Wolverine game rated M and deserves the M rating and pushes the envelope with the M rating. With his violence and vulgar humor and maybe even sex and alcohol and shit. Every way pushes pushes like every. It's like this game was definitely pushed the envelope for the immature game for its time. Like this has more gore than the original trilogy of God of War that the original Kratos played in the God of War games. This Wolverine game has more blood and gore, grotesque kills, and much more in this game than any of the God of War trilogy of the original OG trilogy of God of War games. That's how fucking gruesome this is. And it is awesome. Totally worth playing this game. I recommend this game. I give this a 10 out of 10. This immature game is awesome. Best thing Hugh Jackman has ever played. Best time Hugh Jackman has ever played Wolverine is in this game. I like him more in this than in Logan or any of him in the appearance of Deadpool and Wolverine or any of the X-Men movies where he played Wolverine or his solo movies as Wolverine. This was the best Wolverine portrayal ever. From it with Hugh Jackman. Is this game. It's the best play he's ever played Wolverine. The M version of the game. I recommend playing it. Now, after you see this video. Okay, like this video, subscribe. Goodbye. See you next time.